Tesla reached that pinnacle, and then eventually they literally pulled the rug out from under him. And he's a really, really awesome dude. Whether you're into a spiritual side of it, or a mechanical, or an engineering side, there's a little bit in there for everybody. Doesn't necessarily mean you're going to build Tesla coils. Doesn't necessarily mean you're going to figure out the mysteries of the world. But I guarantee you, if you're into any kind of conspiracy theory, if you're looking for any kind of answers in your life, Tesla is one of the best places to start. In my experience, all roads of conspiracy theory lead to Nikola Tesla. Everything from energy to Kennedy to 9/11s to oil to big pharma, whatever you want to call it. For me, that's how I got there. Now, the purpose of this lecture, because I don't have a lot of time, and sorry we're running late, and Rachel actually cut my time short, it's just to give a historical overview. Who was he? Where was he from? What did he do? And what's his legacy? Now, a lot of people know Nikola Tesla from the car, from the movie. You know, he had that really popular scene in The Prestige. Has anybody seen The Prestige?
No.
With, what's his name? Hugh Jackman, where the Tesla made. Nobody saw The Prestige? Good film. In the movie, one of the magicians went and found Nikola Tesla in Colorado Springs, and then he made a machine. Well, I don't want to, it's a spoiler alert, but so I won't give it away. But he made a machine. It's not completely accurate, but it's very interesting because the technology that Tesla was working with, the fringe science speaks about that. If I have an antenna here, and I have an antenna in London, if I'm standing under the antenna here, and the electricity's on, I'm simultaneously standing under the antenna in London. That's what kind of science we're talking about. It's fringe. Physicists don't like it. Now, you got to understand that because Tesla was an engineer, he was an electric engineer, and the kind of brain power he had, Tesla would go into visions that would literally make him collapse. He would build motors in his head, run them for months, and then take the motor apart in his head to see where the bearings were faded, what kind of wear they had on the bearings. That's the kind of vision this guy went into. He's not a normal dude. Nikola Tesla. At the Tesla Society of Cyprus, our motto is, the key to solving the problems of the future lie in our past. Tesla being one of the main places to start. We deal with who really is Nikola Tesla. He wanted to give the world free energy. He wanted to do this, he wanted that. What did he want to do? Tesla wrote no books, but he has 800 pages of articles. I read them all. Amazing stuff he talks about. The way he marries myth, religion, God, the spiritual, the Indian folklores, everything. He marries it together, and he manages to make science from it. Real science, stuff that you can actually see work. Hopefully, if there's interest, to continue in Tesla's footsteps, from something as building a simple bifiller coil to a nice Tesla coil, and what we can do about it. I was telling Rachel before, right now exists a technology to where if I could have a coil in this room, I could light up all the lamps in this place with nothing more than a 12-volt battery and some wire. That's the kind of technology we're talking about. It's artistic, it's beautiful. You can do it for yourself, do it because you like to do things, but also do it because you want to learn. Tesla's one of the original humanitarians, one of the first people to speak about not exhausting the world's energy supplies, the oil and the trees and all this stuff. He was one of the first persons. He wanted to give unlimited energy to the world. He knew we could. You understand? Nothing is free. There's no such thing as free energy. Nothing in the world is free. Rachel will testify that nothing is free. Right, Rach? Mm-hmm. Everything has a price. The only thing is, can we find a source to where it won't run out? And Tesla did. Decoding some of Tesla's cryptic messages. This is where I like the puzzle game. Tesla, after 1900, when he built the big Warning Cliff project, and we'll get into it in a bit, Tesla stopped talking about science and started pointing people in a certain direction. A lot of cryptic messages there. Reproducing Tesla's work. If you got any engineers, if people like to tinker, wrench on engines and stuff. And lastly, introduce a new way of thinking. Go past the bullshit. How much of that is misinformation? I promise you, if you go to Google and write Tesla, the amount of misinformation there is ridiculous. Go to the source material. I can give you the source material You guys can find me on Facebook. I'd be happy to give it to you. We're attached to a huge international community right now, doing great things, and that material is free for anybody. So, who is Nikola Tesla? Here's some pictures of our man. The picture on the bottom is where he went to school, and you can't really see it on the TV, but right there, that's his uncle. He was an Orthodox priest. He was born on July 10th, 1856 in Croatia. His father was an Orthodox priest, and his mother actually was the inventor. Her family had a history of inventing machines and doing housework. Tesla said that at 70 years old, she was able to tie 4 knots in an eyelash. At 70 years old. That's the kind of genes we're talking. Yes. 4 knots. She could tie 4 knots in an eyelash. That's the kind of...
You said he was born in Croatia.
Yeah.
I always told you he was Serbian.
He's Serbian, but he was born in Croatia.
And his roots are Serbian.
Yeah. At age 14, this dude went to school and he was able to perform calculus in his head to the point where his teachers thought he was cheap. Anybody ever had a problem like that? Calculus. You know what calculus is, right? Those stupidly long equations with little letters and that's calculus. At age 17, he finished a 4-year school term. In 3 years, returned to his hometown in Smiljan, Croatia. He contracted cholera and is bedridden for 9 months. His father wanted him to be a priest. Tesla wouldn't have it. He actually had a brother as well. He was 5 years older. No, sorry, he was a bit older. And his brother had an accident with the family horse and died. And his father wasn't hearing it. He wanted to become a priest, make sure that his spiritual life is there. And Tesla wanted to be an engineer. If you read the autobiography of Tesla, it's not very long. It's only like 5-6 chapters. It talks about it. And eventually, he was literally on his deathbed.
When he wrote the book?
No. When he was a kid, when he got cholera. Sorry. And he's asked his father, if I get better, will you send me to an engineering school? And he said, I will send you to the best school. And he did. And he got better after 9 months. And his father, thank God, sent him to be an engineer. At age 18, he avoided the draft, escaping to some town out there in Croatia. And he started exploring the mountains in hunter's garb. Tesla would claim that the contact with nature made him stronger both physically and mentally. As a young adult, at age 19 or 20, he enrolled in the Austrian Polytechnic in Graz, Austria. Age 21, he gambled away all his allowance, his tuition money, and when exam time came, Tesla was unprepared and asked for an extension and he didn't get it. He never graduated from the university and did not receive grades for his last semester. Another great mind who never finished university. At age 24, he moved to Budapest. We're under Ferenc Puskás at the telegraph company. For the Budapest Telephone Exchange, he worked his way to become the chief electrician for the company. At age 26, he began working at Continental Edison Company in France, designing and making improvements to the electrical equipment. This is his first contact with Thomas Edison. Who knows what Thomas Edison is? There you go. The guy who invented the light bulb, right? He also invented the phonograph, the microphone we use in our telephones. It's a really interesting character as well. It was at this age he had the epiphany of the AC generator while watching the sunset. He was the story goes, he was reciting some poem, and as he was walking, and he was going through he said in his book that he was having a nervous breakdown. How many people have had a nervous breakdown? I've had one. They're not fun, are they? Tesla's walking in the park. He said he could hear the coaches from the horse 5 miles away. This is the kind of brain he was going through. And as he was walking, he saw the sun set, and then he figured the sun is rising somewhere else. And then obviously you got the moon that rises, and the moon is setting somewhere else. So that's where he came up with his 4-pole magnetic alternating current generator, where it's got 4 poles. I'm not going to get into technical, but that's all the electricity we have today. Everything that powers your homes is because of this right here. At age 27, he goes to New York City. He gets his money, got his suitcase, and on his way to the boat, he gets robbed. Shows up in New York City with 4 cents in his pocket and a letter of recommendation from the Edison Company. That's the only thing that got him into the States. Thomas Edison was a genius. Because he had this letter from his boss, the letter said particularly, Mr. Edison, I know of 2 great people in the world. You are one, and young Nikola Tesla is the other. Edison was impressed. Thomas Edison He's the guy who started the Edison Electric Company, which later became General Electric, which was absorbed into RCA, Radio Corporation of America. Born February 11th, 1847, he died in 1931. His notable inventions: the photograph, the DC generator, the incandescent light bulb, the ones that we normally use, alkaline batteries, one of the first early motion picture cameras, and the microphone for the telephones. By 1885, his method of DC, does anybody know what DC is?
Yeah.
It's just electricity that goes in one direction. It's constant. It's like a battery. Battery's a DC volt. It just keeps going. Problem is, it can't go very far. So every few miles, you would need another power station, and another power station, and another power station. Made a lot of money building power stations from the government. Good money in it. But his whole system was not feasible to what the world needed. And when Tesla came, he showed up at Edison's doorstep saying, "Mr. Edison, I'm here to help you change the world. We're going to rip down all your power stations and build new ones." Edison didn't like that too much. But Edison took him in because of that letter of recommendation, and his first assignment, actually he did some work for him and whatever, and one day they were talking and Tesla told Edison, "You know, your generators are wrong. They shouldn't be built like this. They should be built in a better way." And Edison told him, "If you could do this, I'll give you $50,000, which is a lot of money. I don't have the exchange rate. I'll give you $50,000 if you can redo this and do it right." Sure enough, Tesla got to work. He did it, and Edison didn't give him a dime of the money. He got robbed, and Tesla quit. And this started the infamous current wars. Does anybody heard of the current wars? DC versus AC?
Yeah.
Apoel versus Ammonia? Something like that.
So one is direct, one is alternative.
It alternates. It keeps rotating. It's actually just a huge magnetic whirlwind, and it just keeps going and going and going and going. It's a beautiful system. So when Tesla left Edison, he didn't have any money. He finally found some investors at age 30, and he started installing arc lights based on illumination systems that he had designed. Tesla proposed that the company should start developing the alternating current. The investors didn't want it, and they eventually got rid of Tesla. They got rid of him, and Tesla was working in a ditch for $2 a day. He was digging ditches. At age 31, he started another company, this time with the people from Western Union. They wanted him to work on motors. He set up some labs, and eventually they had some agreements, and then by this time, Tesla was starting to give demonstrations. He fixed the AC system. He made it work. He started giving demonstrations, and people were not hearing it. Why? Because the expert at the time was Edison. Let me give you an example. If I have a new system of therapy, right, and my friend Maria, who did a fantastic job on me today with her healing therapy, right, she's the expert, and I'm introducing something that's contrary to what she's doing. Everybody's going to go ask Maria, is it any good? Is it any good? What, she's going to give me her business? No. It sucks. It's going to say it's dangerous. It's dangerous. And Tesla was having a hard time. But one great man, George Westinghouse. Anybody ever heard of Westinghouse? The refrigerators, the air conditionings? The infamous George Westinghouse believed in Tesla. He believed in Tesla, and he said, "You know what? I'll fund you. I'll buy all your patents. I'll pay you this much money, and I want you to come work for me." And he did. This is what the world would have looked like if Thomas Edison won the current wars. You see all these things? They're all wires. If Tesla had his way, this is what the world would look like. No wires. Who's heard of the Brooklyn Dodgers, the baseball team? This is their logo. Do you know where the name comes from? In 1885, the DC current was so bad, sparks of electricity would shoot out the wires, and people had to dodge the electricity so they wouldn't be electrocuted. That's why they were called the Brooklyn Dodgers. A little bit of info for you. George Westinghouse, awesome dude. That's what the original alternating current looked like right there as well, by the way. At age 32, George Westinghouse paid $60,000 in cash and stock and a royalty, and $2.50 per horsepower generated by the AC motor. This is important because there's the infamous story that when J.P. Morgan, you all know who J.P. Morgan is, right? Monopoly guy with the big mustache, guy who wanted Rothschild, whatever. When he started squeezing the companies at the time, Tesla was owed $10 million by Westinghouse. And because that's the money that he generated from the horsepower. He was producing something like 2.5 million horsepower at the time from his generators at $2.50. Work on the math, something like that. And Westinghouse came and said, look, if I pay you this money, I'm going to lose everything. And Tesla ripped up the contracts. I think $10 million today is classified something close to $2 billion by inflation. Would you rip up $2 billion for a friend? Tesla was working in Pittsburgh, helping to create alternating current system to power the city streetcars. He would find the time there frustrating because of the conflicts between him and the other engineers. They originally wanted to make the AC generator work for cars. They weren't able to, funny enough, because it's always rotating, so they figured they could use it as a motor. At age 35, Tesla became a naturalized citizen in the U.S. He told many of his companions, this is the greatest honor that I've ever had. He established his South Fifth Avenue laboratory in New York, and later his Houston Street lab in New York at 46 East Houston Street. He was able to light lamps in one lab while sending electricity from the other one. See, after Tesla made the AC generators, he finished it. It's done. Something new. And this is where the myth of Nikola Tesla starts. Because Tesla discovered a new kind of electricity. Electricity that can go faster than the speed of light. It's estimated to go 1.5 times the speed of light, to where it could drill a hole through space-time. Instantaneous. It was true action at a distance. No delay, nothing. And this is what he was doing. This is how he was able to send electricity wirelessly. And all the while, Edison is sitting there playing his fiddle, trying to get AC, alternating current, banned by the government. I'm going to show you a video. Are there any kids here? This is a true, real video. All right? My wife didn't like it. This is my wife, my beautiful wife, Lily, by the way. This is the truth. This is what means they were using in order to ban AC current. It's only 1.5 minutes.
Does it sound?
I don't think so. I don't see any sound here.
Yeah. The current system of electricity being developed by Westinghouse and Tesla. It became known as the War of the Currents.
My personal desire would be to prohibit entire.
Before I go on, is anybody? This is graphic. So I'm just saying, if you can't take graphic, please turn the other way.
Alternating currents. They are as unnecessary as they are dangerous.
Edison employees demonstrated the dangers of alternating current by electrocuting animals in public demonstrations.
Just as certain as death, Westinghouse will kill a customer within 6 months after he puts in a system of any size. None of his plans worry me in the least.
An Edison associate suggested using alternating current as a means of executing criminals. A test took place at New York's Auburn State Prison in 1890. Several gruesome attempts were required to kill the victim. Disgusted witnesses claimed his spinal cord burst into flame.
The infliction of the death penalty is not only barbarous and inhuman, but unnecessary as a factor in the scheme of modern civilization.
Wow.
They electrocuted an elephant just to prove to the world that AC electricity doesn't work. It's dangerous. And the electric chair, is powered, actually charged to an AC generator. And that's how they're still killing people today.
Today, still.
The AC, the electric chair, wherever it's legal. I'm thinking in 2 states in America, nowhere else in the world, I think. Maybe some dictatorship somewhere. Today, we only have AC current. We don't have anything else except it, unfortunately. But the propaganda machine, the money, the power, the control, people are trying to control your lives, whether you realize it or not. For me, the Tesla Society is about breaking that control. It's about reclaiming control of what I want I know what I want for my family. I know what I want for my future. Tesla did it his way. And if he had it his way, if he was able to finish, I guarantee you the world would be a much better place today. Instead, we have corporations electrocuting elephants for the sake of doing it. Sorry. At age 37, Westinghouse won the bid to electrify the 1893 World Columbia Exposition in Chicago with alternating current. The World's Fair was devoted a building to electrical exhibits. It was a key event in the history of AC power at Westinghouse, and Tesla demonstrated the safety and reliability of alternating current to the American public. At the Columbia Exposition, Tesla demonstrated a series of electrical effects in a lecture he had performed throughout America and Europe. That picture is the actual picture. This was the first time electric lighting was used for this kind of an event, for this massive an event. Current wars are done. Tesla won and Westinghouse won, and people kept going on. Eventually, in 1893 afterwards, they were awarded the contract, in 1895, to build the Niagara Falls power plant, where they were actually using the waterfalls in Niagara Falls to turn the primary mover to turn the generators. This was Tesla's vision from a teenager. He figured out in his mind that if I can find a huge waterfall, I'll be able to make my generator work. And it came true. It came true 20 years later. God bless him. This is beautiful. This is absolutely beautiful, these generators. There's the original plaque. These are some of the original machines here. This footage is awesome. And this is Tesla's peak in popularity. Over the next few years, he would go around the world. He would give lectures to all the kings, the queens, the aristocrats. He was the rock star of his era. There's a story that one time, while Edison was doing his campaign, he invited the whole aristocracy of Europe or something, America, and he said to the world, I'm gonna electrocute myself in front of you. And everybody came. And he did an experiment that nobody today has managed to most people have managed to duplicate most of Tesla's stuff. Nobody's ever managed to do this. He attached himself to 2 electrodes on stage and lit up like a fluorescent bulb.
Oh, wow.
And that's a true story. Nobody knows how he did it.
What he did?
You know the fluorescent bulbs? He grabbed 2 electrodes on the stage and he lit up like a fluorescent bulb.
Wow.
Yeah, I'd like to do
That's pretty awesome.
that. Yeah, I'd like to do that.
But like I said, while in his popularity, he wasn't focused on AC. It was done. He was getting paid. Patents was paying money. He was trying to invent a new form of electricity called impulse electricity. And as he was experimenting, he made great breakthroughs. This is where it starts going on fringe, because what Tesla was talking about didn't agree with physics. And you have the physicists and you have the electrical engineers. Physicists will tell you, no, it can't be done, but the engineers were actually making it. So who's right? The guy who has the finished product, or the guy that's holding on to certain formulas and say, no, the formulas say it can't work, but it's working. Here it is. He was able to do it. At age 38, he began investigating what he referred to as radiant energy, the kind of energy that comes from the sun, from space. There is a patent where he would literally put a piece of aluminum on a stick up in the air and ground it to the ground, and he was making electricity. Not much, 5 volts, 4 volts, but it was there. He was able to do the X-rays. This picture here, this is Mark Twain, by the way. You all know who Mark Twain is, right? Adventures of Huckleberry Finn, famous American writer. This is Mark Twain's hand, an X-ray. It was one of the first X-rays ever made. This is Tesla's
Submarine.
submarine. It's not a submarine, remote control.
Submarine.
It is, it was a boat. And this had no batteries, had no power source. They actually took it apart in front of everybody. There was no power source in it. He was able to wirelessly power this and control it. First form of robotics. This is the actual picture right here. He did that at age 42.
Is it the famous picture with the Mr. President that will make the presentation to the President of the United States, Tesla?
I don't know.
Oh,
I don't
maybe.
know. Sorry about that.
Sorry.
When Tesla showed him the boat, He called it the teleautomaton to the public during the electrical exhibition in Madison Square Garden. The crowd that was there, this is people's mentalities right now. The crowd that was there claimed that the boat was driven by everything from magic to telepathy to being piloted by a trained monkey who was sitting inside the boat. This is the public. Tesla tried to sell his idea to the U.S. military and they said it was useless. And we have drones today all over the sky following us.
Yeah.
Colorado Springs, this is where it gets really interesting. In 1899, by now, by the way, J.P. Morgan started moving in on Tesla. He already controlled Edison. All the money that Edison got financed from was all from J.P. Morgan. Edison, one of his first projects he did, he actually lit up J.P. Morgan's house with lights. And Westinghouse was quietly being removed from the picture, and Morgan was taking control. He moved to Colorado Springs so that he could work on this the wireless transmission of electricity. So basically being able to send electricity without any wires. The story goes, these are some of the black and white photos. This is the antenna. It was about 87 or 127 feet high. This is inside of his coil, him sitting down with sparks flying. There was over 1 million volts going all the way around him. The story goes that the way whatever he was doing there, he managed at some point to create a standing bolt of lightning. And he was able to keep it standing for like a minute. You all know what lightning sounds like. Imagine keeping it standing for 1 minute. The sound must have been ferocious. Can't even imagine. Wireless unrealized. J.P. Morgan, chief financier Thomas Edison, the Edison Electric Company, later being absorbed into Morgan's own General Electric, GE. Westinghouse forced into bankruptcy by J.P. Morgan, pleaded with Tesla, we talked about, and the debt was forgiven for $10 million. When Tesla started working for Morgan, it was with the promise of being able to send information wirelessly. By then, they only had the telegraph. All this started with the telegraph. They had the wires up already, and they were trying to send the signals back and forth. Tesla said, I could do this wirelessly. My Italian friend might object a little bit to this because Marconi is one of the greatest heroes of the Italian, and it's true, Marconi did make it work. But the actual Supreme Court favored in Tesla after his death that it was with Tesla's patents that Marconi was able to send radio. And I think BBC ended up buying it from Marconi. Marconi made a shitload of money, and then there's the rumor that Marconi moved to Argentina, right?
Well,
he was working on some project there. This is why Morgan was interested, because these guys knew that the faster you can send information, the more powerful you are. This is Wardenclyffe. This is what this place looked like. This is after he finished from Colorado Springs, Tesla was building this place so that he could send electricity to the whole world. It was about the year 1900, and Tesla was riding the wave of his popularity. He thought the world was ready, but it wasn't. Unfortunately, age 44, Tesla signed over 51% of his patents to Morgan for $150,000, nothing, so that he could finance Wardenclyffe. On December 11th, 1901, the construction began. It was Tesla's most ambitious project to date. Marconi, I'm going to skip through it because I'm a little short on time. He actually befriended Tesla. He came to America. He saw Tesla doing some speech there, and he came to America and finally goes, I'd like to work with you. And Marconi took him under his wing. Tesla took Marconi under his wing, and he started teaching him. And eventually he did it. December 11th, he transmitted the letter S by Morse wirelessly from Cornwall to St. John's in Newfoundland, 2,000 miles away.
Yeah.
By the way, this is House. Anybody watch House?
Yeah, I was just wondering, what is House doing there?
Tesla was robbed. That was in season 4. Eventually, wireless was unrealized. At age 45, Marconi did what he did. And then during age 45 to 50, obviously, Morgan stopped giving Tesla money. Morgan figured out that, hang on, there's something more than radio going on here. because he didn't tell him that I wanted to send electricity. Stopped giving him money. For 6 years, Tesla's writing letters to Morgan. I need more money. I got to pay my workers. I need more money. I got to pay my workers. Morgan wasn't answering them. The thing stood 187 feet high. Tesla couldn't get any investors, and eventually on July 4th, the tower was confiscated and eventually destroyed. This was our future. This was our future. Today, I didn't include it in the presentation. A group that was associated with the Tesla societies in America, they had a crowdfunding campaign raised close to $2 million. They bought the real estate, and they're turning it into a museum, unfortunately. Some of the Tesla experts, in quotes, said that the equipment is still there to continue with wireless. But nobody's hearing. Nobody wants to know. Because what Tesla was able to do, he sent the electricity through the ground. And all these huge bases that they built, all these under the ground with these huge coils under the ground and all the concrete and everything, it's all still there. The tower's not there, but everything is still there. In his old age, for the rest of his life, after Wardenclyffe, he was disowned by J.P. Morgan. He was homeless, friendless. He was living in hotels until he was thrown out because he couldn't pay the bills. His best friend were pigeons. While he still claimed to make amazing discoveries onto his death in 1943, he was ostracized by the world as being someone who spoke to aliens. He was a mad scientist, he was delusional, and he was the inventor of the death ray. The amount of respect the world showed him. These are scenes from the original Superman cartoon that was done in Technicolor. And the very first episode was Superman against the mad scientist. And it's portrayed to be Nikola Tesla. This is a later episode here. There you have Tesla with his pigeon and Tesla's infamous death ray. In the movie Frankenstein, the original, the black and white, there's your Dr. Frankenstein, Nikola Tesla. And there's Igor, or the Hunchback.
Yeah.
The Hunchback is Professor Charles Proteus Steinmetz. He was the guy who figured out the math for Tesla. This is how Hollywood portrays our heroes today. Tesla, in one of the greatest things he said, he goes, I need no models or drawings or experiments. I could picture everything in my head. He did everything in his head. It was absolutely amazing. The moment one constructs a device to carry into practice a crude idea, he finds himself unavoidably engrossed with the details. Oh, sorry. My method is different. I don't rush into actual work. When I get an idea, I start at once building it up in my imagination and making improvements while it's operating in my head. In this way, I'm able to rapidly develop and perfect the conception without touching anything. This is some of Tesla's stuff. More of the same. This is some of his lab. A little bit of fringe science. There is the rumor that in 1932 he converted a Pierce arrow from combustion to an electric motor. With the car prepped to run on electricity, Tesla visited a nearby hardware store and bought items off the shelf, built a unit in his hotel room the night before the test, and reported captured from the ether. Have you ever heard of the ether? Anybody? If you might have heard of the ether. Working with auras, working with chi. The ether is something that might be, something that's not. This is the big dilemma right now. Is there something between my hands right now?
Oh.
How do you know?
Yeah.
Is there energy? Can you see it? How do you know?
You can feel it.
You can feel it. Can
I
you
can
prove
tell
it?
everybody to
Can
feel
you
it.
prove it though?
Yes, everybody can feel it.
Feeling is not proven. I agree with you. There is something between it. Some people call it the ether. There's something there. If I can put two pieces of metal between, how do you make a battery? It's two pieces of metal,
Then you will see
and you have some kind of alkaline or acid there, and it's corrosive, and then you have a condition there that makes electricity. What's between that space? That's the interesting question.
This is it. People didn't know about electricity before it was invented.
People
but it
still
doesn't
do.
mean
Electricity
it
was
bad.
never invented. Electricity was never invented, and it's 2015, and nobody can give you a straight answer as to what electricity is. Electricity is a phenomenon. They know how to access the phenomena. It's like going to church and lighting a candle making a prayer and it coming true. Nobody knows how it works. It's just the condition that happened.
Yeah, but electricity is like the charge of the electron.
That's what
It's a flow
J.J.
of
Thompson said.
electrons.
But that's still not telling you what it is.
It's a flow
Because
of
it's-
electrons.
do you know the story of the flow of electrons? I'm almost done. Give me 1 second, I'm done. If you guys want to stay to talk, I'd be happy to talk some more. With the car, he basically made a black box. He put an 80 horsepower AC generator in there. Shows up, puts the thing together and put some tubes, some wires hanging out, no batteries, no nothing. Plugs 2 iron rods into the box and says, now we have power. And he started driving the car at 90 miles an hour and the thing wouldn't stop. No power, no nothing. This is fringe science. Might be true, might be not. Obviously the death ray. There's a story that the Tunguska explosion in Russia happened because Tesla was making some kind of experiments with his death ray. And lastly, his legacy. What is Nikola Tesla's legacy? It's alternating current, the fluorescent bulbs, the X-rays, wireless communications, remote control, electric motors, robotics, lasers, the Tesla coil, and lastly you. I promise you, most of us wouldn't be here today if it wasn't for Nikola Tesla. Because most people in the villages, out in this, especially here from Cyprus, electricity came to Cyprus, I think, in 1962, 61, something like this. Maybe a bit before then.
So before then there was no electricity, was there?
Half of us wouldn't be here.
No, in the British bases there was.
There. In my village, it didn't go to 1967. My family told me. Because they had, you know what I mean? There was nothing. And it's only because of AC current. Imagine if you had to build a power station to have DC current. Everybody would be in bed by 5 o'clock. And I'd like to share with you my favorite Tesla quote. This really moved me because a lot of what Tesla was doing was work with antennas. And he said, the gift of mental power comes from God, the divine being. And if we concentrate our minds on that truth, we become in tune with this great power. So basically our mind is like an antenna. If you focus on something bigger than yourself, focus on something greater and more powerful, where the information actually comes from, you could be a part of that and have access to that information. And I really believe that. I've seen it. I've seen things that science can't explain, well, today's science. But there's great things out there to be discovered still. Tesla said, I'm not an inventor. I'm a discoverer. I go out and I find something new. And that's an awesome legacy. That's the kind of spirit it is to have in order to be a follower of Tesla. Am I a follower? Yeah, absolutely. I love to do. That's why I'm doing this. And I hope if anybody's interested and wants to work a little bit more with Tesla and find more, I'll be here till tomorrow. I'd love to talk. Thank you very much.
How can you,
Thank you.
What do you do as a Tesla society? When
Tesla-
you say if anyone is interested to join the society, to do what?
The first thing you got to do is learn about Nikola Tesla. If you don't learn about Nikola Tesla, if you don't read Nikola Tesla, if it doesn't, you don't have to be an electrical engineer. You could read about Nikola Tesla and take something spiritual away, and then my friend here might read something and take something to help him fix his car, and somebody else will read and take the solution to the unified field theory equation. You know, Tesla is so dynamic in his writing. He's like the Bruce Lee of science. You know, Bruce Lee is said to be the greatest martial artist ever. Tesla was the greatest scientific mind in the history of the world, bar none, bar none. I mean, the guy wasn't a great artist. He wasn't like a Leonardo da Vinci. And there's a couple of other guys of that era, guys like Walter Russell, Victor Grobanoff, the guy who invented the actual flying saucer, Ed Leedskalnin, Jim Keeley. All these names show up. So, but Tesla is the guy who rode that wave of awesomeness. He was the guy who made things work. And he gave us all the blueprints. I mean, you do alternative healing. You see the design in a spiral. There's math in a spiral. There's the 1.617 ratio. Tesla built coils based on that. Coils that send power wirelessly. That's how he was doing it. How it works, I don't know. I'm not an electrical engineer. I hope to find somebody who likes or can understand that and do some work. after you learn about what Tesla is, it doesn't necessarily mean that you stop there. If you want, you continue reading, continue working. It's not a society to where like, yeah, we're going to have meetings once a month and then we're going to go back home until we meet again next month. If people like to wrench, if people like to work, if people like to be creative, if people like to be artistic, this is part of being the Tesla Society. Now the cool thing is, right now I'm talking with a couple of guys out in the States. We're doing some really, really awesome work. And if there's a group that's big enough, I would love to get one of these guys to come, maybe for a nice weekend lecture. But it's going to be very, very technical. This is, I did a guy's whole lifetime in about 30 minutes. I left out a ton of information. And I actually wanted to bring some, because I have some wireless coils at home. I can tell y'all how to make them. Not very hard. But because of the time constraint, I didn't really bring them. If you guys want, I'd be happy to do this again, do it more in depth, and actually bring some things for you guys to actually work with.
Yeah, bring it.
Some coils. There's a guy who's doing self-powering motors right now. You can actually bring, I can give you all the equipment, you bring it, and we can make it. It could be like a weekend, workshop. We could have a nice little workshop.
Self-powering motors, I mean, we know you cannot generate electricity out of nothing. You can transform it, heat to kinetic, kinetic to heat, whatever
Exactly.
you want. Yeah, like
You could take,
fossil,
you
solar.
could take less. That's just it. Right now, there's a guy who's using a computer fan to power LED bulbs. It's not a lot of power, but he's able to produce somewhere between 3 to 5 volts.
In the wind or something.
No, from a computer fan. Using a computer fan. I'll give you his website. You can check him out.
What turns this computer fan?
The magnetic field.
Yeah, electric
The magnetic field pulls. You can't take out more than you get. Correct?
No,
It's the first, second law of thermodynamics.
Okay.
You can't take out more than you get. So in other words, if I get 9 volts, I can't take out 10. Can't.
Yeah, exactly.
It's impossible. The problem is that a lot of people, they hear free energy and immediately assume that it's going to come from magic. It's not how it works. My own research has shown me that the more deeper you go into the original writing, those original guys were explaining exactly how it works. How there is this fibrous system called the ether. How the earth does have an electromagnetic pull. 200 years ago, the only way they knew what magnetism was or electromagnetism was that they would put, no, was it 300 years ago? They would put an antenna on a dead muscle and it would contract and they would know, there's electricity here, something going on. And today we've evolved to think that we know everything. We know nothing. We know a little bit. And because we know that little bit, we think we know everything. I might not be able to answer your question, but I can show you that they're doing it.
Yeah, it's just like
Does it solve anything? No, but it might help you or me or him understand, hang on. Like Tesla saw the sun, he's like, that's what's happening.
I mean, he hasn't built a torpedo mobile, yeah? I mean, like some weird machine that runs by itself and puts out power from thin air.
The biggest problem, I was reading the journals of the American International Electrical Engineering Society. These guys were the big dogs at the time. Their biggest problem was the prime mover. How to get that generator turning. Obviously, everybody's talking about AC motors now. How to get that generator moving. You need something else to move it. People use gasoline, steam, even the big thermonuclear plants, all it is just creating steam in order to turn the generators. And just using nuclear fission to do it. I don't think, and a lot of people don't think that there's ever going to be a way to get that prime mover to work on its own. I don't think it's possible.
Because also it's based on the fact that the Earth, basically it's a ball, it's of iron.
Yeah.
So it's the greatest magnet at all. So Tesla was thinking to use the electromagnetism of the Earth for keep off
This
the...
is it. This is what I'm going to say. Today in our homes, everything is powered by electricity. If we could turn down the amount of electricity that we're using, there's enough know-how today to where guys are able to run it something as simple as a windmill generator, solar power, radiant energy. Like I said, he was just putting a piece of aluminum up in the ground. He was generating current. He was doing it. What Tesla found out, though, about wireless is the interesting thing. There is a way to magnify the amount of electricity. So let's just give a plain argument here. Let's say I need 5 liters of gas to make 10 horsepower of electricity. Just an amazing figure, just a figure. If I'm able to use that figure and then by the time I send 10 horsepower from point A to point B, if I can make that 10 become 50, all of a sudden those 5 liters become much more efficient. Tesla figured out that when he sent the electricity into the ground, like he's talking about, and when it came out somewhere else, more electricity came out. It was a much more efficient system.
Maybe more voltage or something, but not more electricity, not more energy. You cannot create energy.
There is electricity in the earth.
Yeah, but you cannot create it. You have to get it from somewhere else.
It is coming
generate
from
it.
us.
Or, but you cannot create it. You will not have like amount X.
amplified. I think when it goes through the
Probably
Earth's current,
Yeah,
it's
but
amplified.
it is like a transformer. You can make 12
Yeah.
volts into 25,000.
Is that what you mean?
But then you have only 2 milliamperes left, yeah, and whatever. And all you get is,
You're absolutely right.
yeah.
Tesla said it was possible.
Anyway,
I'll give you the patents. We'll talk. I'll give you the patents.
Can I-
For increasing, I'll give you the patent. I got it written down.
I would like to make a consideration. I like very much, okay, the technical issue and all the things for source powering, remote controlling system and all the things. But I believe that what is indicating now the sentence that you just take off from the television,
Oh,
it's very interesting, no? How to get into the, how you can say, the mood, how into the Nikola
Mentality.
Tesla mentality to talk about, all the kind of
Tesla.
relation with God, this kind of things also.
Tesla was I'll tell you what Tesla did for me. I'm not interested in electrical. What's your name, my friend?
Mike.
Mike, I'm George. I'm not interested in electrical engineering. I'm not an engineer. I'll tell you about me, though. All right? I'm 37 years old. I used to be a Protestant minister, and I was failed by my beliefs. How many people have had a religious experience in their life? Anybody, any kind of spiritual, religious experience.
Something.
Whatever. I was completely disappointed by what I thought I knew. And I was stranded and abandoned by the people who I thought had my back and loved me. And years later, I see Nikola Tesla, one of his, let me see if I can remember his quote. I thought I put it on here, but I guess it got deleted. And it's not opening this file. He said, he's talking about how I needed to find a solution for this, and my mother had taught me to go and seek all my questions out, or find all my answers in the Bible. And I went to the book of Revelations, and I found the answer. And I'm like, excuse my French, what the fuck did he read in Revelations that I didn't? That actually gave him a solution to an electrical problem. And it got, after about 10 years, I opened up my Bible. And sure enough, there it was. Revelations chapter 4. And there is a huge debate on that's how I saw it. If you might read it, you
I
might
also
read something
know.
else. There's a huge debate on the internet right now between some of these guys who are into Tesla. It's like, what did he read? Most people agree that it's Revelation chapter 4. If you are into, whatchamacallit, Anunnakis and the Sumerian text and pyramids and all that kind of stuff.
Yes.
Tesla's, a lot of people take it that way. They're like, yeah, they found 2,500-year-old batteries in Iraq. What did they need batteries for 3,000 years ago in Iraq for? Batteries, they work. They put grape juice in them, and they work.
Yes.
They
Big
had electricity 3,000 years ago.
monastery made it with big stones that are unmovable.
What's going on? All these questions, instead of giving me more answers, it opened up more cans of worms and started, made me ask more questions. Now, I could go back and put my head in the ground like an ostrich, or I could say, hang on, I'm going to solve this. And that's what Tesla did for me. He made me go back to he humbled me out, first of all, just by saying that, you know what? This great man found answers in the Bible, and I'm sitting here blaming the Bible for my problems, blaming God for my problems. That's horrible.
So what was in chapter 4?
It's an illustration of the throne of God. Actually, it shows up a few places in the Bible, but it looks like the throne of God is it looks like some kind of machine with 4 things in the middle, a centerpiece, crystals, magnets all around it, 24-piece magnets. There's a very interesting story that I've read. That actually sent me on a journey, because what I did was I went and found all the books you're not supposed to read. All the Apocrypha, the book of Enoch, the book of Jubilees, the book of Jasher, all of it. Found all those books, started reading them. And I found some very interesting stuff. You all know who Moses is, right? Great
Yeah,
Red Sea.
cool. Yeah.
He had a big stick, right?
Yeah,
The rod of
the
Moses.
antenna.
According to one of these books, the rod of Moses is not a stick, but it's a huge sapphire crystal.
George, I want to ask you about these things. There is also the conspiration that drives Tesla into the Egyptian.
I know. Pyramids.
The pyramids, the cone, and all the technology that they was using actually, that are in Nikola Tesla replied somehow.
Nobody knows. They got people channeling Tesla, which I'm not a big fan of
Do you
channeling.
have any conspiracies that connect Tesla to the Antichrist?
No.
Because you mentioned before about the Anunnakis and finding batteries, and of course how a pyramid's built. Now, if we go to Germany, the Anunnakis, they say that they had the DNA of the fallen angel. Now, I'm quite Christian, where
I'll tell you what I
will
know.
not even say his name, but they say people with 6 toes and 6 fingers. Well, I have 6 toes. And I can assure you I have no DNA.
I'll tell you what I know. I'll tell you what I know.
But it is linked to the Anunnakis.
What do you think the Anunnaki are?
Well, according to them,
I'm asking you what you think they are. Forget them. You've obviously done some research on it. See,
I don't know. I haven't come to a conclusion yet.
Methodology.
I'm still on my journey, but I do believe there are aliens. I do believe there is an.
What do you think an alien is?
Someone that doesn't live on planet Earth.
And where do you come up with this?
But not an
wait,
Antichrist,
1 second.
not angels,
Betty
not
minute.
demons.
Betty minute. This is very interesting, because this is everybody's answer, and I want to show you how involved people are in your life without you even realizing it. How do you know they're from another planet? What made you believe that? Right, what you read, probably what you seen on TV, right? What if there's another direction? Because you could tell Hollywood is being scripted by men, right? Because men is all about the outward things growing and thrusting and getting bigger. Men make big rocket ships and put some volunteers on top and blast off into space, and the thing goes put, and then eventually just ejaculates the whole thing out. That's a men's way of thinking. A woman's way of thinking is a little bit different. Women are more internal. They go inside. If there are aliens, and I do believe there are, they're not from another planet. They're not from another galaxy. I believe they're from another dimension. And Tesla talks about dimensions. In fact, the Bible talks about dimensions. I found more science in the Bible in the last 4 years than I have in the other 33 years of my life. And I'll tell you something really cool. There was a dude by the name of Ivan Panin. He was a Russian communist. He was part of the first revolution against the Tsar in Russia, where they failed, and he was exiled to America. He became a mathematician at Harvard University, sponsored by the big Catholic Church. So they got Bibles everywhere. And one day this dude, this communist, atheist dude, picks up a copy of the Bible, starts reading it, and sees math. Like proper math. Do you know how much math he found in the Bible during the 53 years that he studied the Bible? 145,000 pages of math.
But do you know they say that the Bible's written by a supercomputer? Do
No,
you believe
it's
in
not.
that?
No.
Like
I
the
believe
Bible
it's written
code?
by a super intelligence called God. That's
Yeah,
what I
they said if you read the
Yeah.
Bible crossways and this ways,
Mm-hmm.
it tells you the future of the planet Earth. So from 2,000 years
Does tell
ago,
you
they
the future.
predicted the death of Princess Diana and everything else. If you read it in codes,
I haven't heard that. I'll tell you what.
Wow.
I do know. It goes back to methodology.
Interesting.
Where, like, by the way, this is just
So
me. By the
basically,
way,
you're talking about time travel in another dimension.
Um,
Aliens out of another galaxy or planet.
if you go
but
to another
in a way of
dimension,
another dimension.
you're freed from space-time. Why? How does Tesla tie all into all this?
Exactly, yeah.
You guys heard of the Philadelphia experiment?
No.
You ain't heard of the Philadelphia experiment? This was a big movie. This was a big thing because the ship is a ship. It was a warship. It ended up in Greece. The Greek army, the Greek Navy bought it, and everybody, all the soldiers got cancer because of the radiation. There's the myth that the Philadelphia experiment was using Tesla technology, and what they were trying to do is they were trying to be magnetically invisible, so that mines in the water wouldn't attach themselves to the ship and blow up. And that instead of becoming magnetically invisible, the thing became completely invisible and went through time. And in the movie and in the story, I don't believe it, by the way, but it is interesting reading, that they went back to 1944, right before the end of World War II. Sorry, 1941, before the Japanese attacked Pearl Harbor. Myth, but interesting reading. Tesla technology looks like it defeats what we understand of everything. Because science now is telling you that you and me, we don't exist. What this is, it's a 3D hologram of who you really are. That there's another dimension into you, like you said, it's called pneuma, aura, or spirit.
Yes, but isn't, they say that, we're on the 3 dimension now, and they say that we're supposed to be on a 4th, maybe even 5th dimension, rather than the 3D we're in now, hence who we are.
According to science, quantum physics, they're up to 10 dimensions. In the 13th century, a rabbi studying just the creation, the first 6 days of creation, 7 days of creation, said that we live in 10 dimensions. 4 we have access to, and 6 we don't. Nobody knows. Nobody understands. A lot of this sounds like just gibberish. I was asked not to keep this technical, but this is an interesting conversation. This is what the Tesla Society is about. It's about philosophy. It's about understanding. It's about getting a morsel of information that you could take back and chew on and say, you know what? This thing might change my life. It might change somebody else's life.
Well, okay, if I can get free electricity for life, I could be up for it.
Get a bunch of hamsters. And start
Remember
running
my
on the
phone number.
wheel.
Let's go a little bit spiritually into it. What about reincarnation?
What about?
Do the people in Tesla Society believe in it?
There are no people. I am the Tesla Society right now, so there's more of us.
Okay.
I don't believe in
Around
it,
the
no.
world.
I don't believe in it, no.
Well, why not if you're reading the Bible and obviously you do have a divine guidance, the supreme being, which is God.
Call it God.
Because
somebody else
it's in the
might
Bible. No Orthodox will believe in reincarnation, no Christian. But if there is proof of it in the Bible,
Of reincarnation.
yes, of course.
Can you give it to me, please?
Yes, of course.
Tell me.
Jesus Christ, when he went to see John the Baptist to get baptized, he turned around and told the people, have you not recognized him? Do you not know who he is? And they said no. And he says, do you not recognize this is Prophet Elijah? Now they have torn
John
pages.
said to Jesus, or Jesus said to
Jesus
John?
said
About John.
So they have torn pages about reincarnation out of the Bible, and the last Bible, 14th or 4th century, I'm not sure, it's called, is in a museum in England. But this page they could not remove because it's something that Jesus had said. Why would he ask everybody, do you not recognize him? That's proof right there that the early Christians believed in reincarnation.
No. That's look.
Thank you.
Maybe.
Everybody's entitled to an opinion. Everybody's entitled to an opinion.
Okay.
The problem with your methodology is that it doesn't justify a whole.
Okay.
I have a lot of questions about the Bible.
Okay.
In any theory, in any working theory, when you have new information, it's there, it's real, it's tangible, this is information. By the way, you heard the story that knowledge is power? It's bullshit. Knowledge is not power. Neither is money. Money is not power. You know what
How
power
you
is?
use
Power?
it.
No. Information is power. Real information. Don't read what other people have to say about a subject. I went back. I read the original Sumerian texts. I started learning how to translate hieroglyphics because I was really on a pyramid binge. I started learning ancient Hebrew. Started practicing my ancient Greek because I'm horrible at ancient Greek. I wanted to go as far back to the original source material before I made up my mind on anything. I haven't made up my mind on anything. In your regards, if I get a new piece of information and I have a working theory, if I can't fit the information into the theory, you have two options.
Right.
Either you change the information or you change the theory. What do you think is more correct?
It depends.
Well, the theory, really, because the information is there.
Exactly.
Yeah, but the theory
It
must have
depends.
come from information.
Exactly.
Yeah, but you know what people are doing today?
They change the
They neglect the information and they change the information.
Or
Because you have a
misinterpret it.
theory, and then you say, oh wait, but this information, if I could stretch it and then chop a bit off the top and then shave a little bit on the bottom, I can make it fit into the puzzle.
Yeah, but you can speculate without information.
Then you need to
They
call it
thought-
speculation. You're absolutely right.
Yeah, they thought the atom 2,000 years ago. Democritus thought of the atom. There was no proof of it. And he thought of it 2,000 years ago, and the Greeks put him on a Greek island. They're saying he was insane, but he wasn't insane.
The
at all.
the atom I think is the direction. Tesla. What was Tesla doing? Tesla was sending electricity into the globe. The myth is that he was sending it out into space and it was bouncing off the ionosphere and it was multiplying or whatever and coming back down. This is garbage. What Tesla was doing was sending it into the earth. He was going the direction of the fourth dimension, and he was able to actually go faster than the speed of light. There is a brilliant guy. His name is Eric Dollard. He's online. He's still alive. This guy managed to replicate more Tesla than anybody, and I've checked out some of his stuff. It doesn't add up. Some of it does, though, and his information is spot on. Eric Dollard gives a brilliant example. You can check it out on the internet. It's called The Theory of Anti-Relativity. It's the first hour is the whole history of electrical engineering. Strongly advise you to see it. And then he changes the conversation and starts talking about things other than what we understand, about regular space and time. And doesn't necessarily mean that you can jump through space-time, but he's talking about that the electricity was. No, we can't go. I can't go into this computer. You know what I mean?
But the thing is like, sorry to interrupt, yeah, because electricity is carried by the electron, and the electron doesn't have a position and no mass. An electron can be everywhere at the same time and nowhere, yeah?
I'll tell you
And
something
it
else
doesn't
about an electron.
necessarily even have to be in this time.
You're absolutely right.
Yeah, so
I will tell you something about the electron that they cannot understand, and if you guys are smarter, you go out and write a paper. All right? They did a theory. They did a test. And basically, if I could just say, if there's the wall, yeah? And if I got a box here, and I got a paintball gun, and I'm just shooting randomly through that little hole, what's going to be on the wall? A little box, right? Pretty much more or less, it'll be a little square box. If I put water, let's say, and just kind of make it go wavy, it'll go, and then when it hits the hole, it'll create a new wave. Yeah? Doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
It does. It's a ripple effect, and it will create a different kind of pulse.
I think there's internet here. It's a ripple effect. Now here, I can show it to you on a picture, but here's the amazing thing. When they did this to the electron, right? They did it first with one hole, and then if you put two holes, that little ripple effect, right, would pass through, and then it would start intercrossing. But when they put a camera on it to follow the electron, it behaved differently.
there was the photon.
It was the electron. I'm
should.
99%
It is lines
sure.
and then waves. If you
I
look
think
at
it was the
them, they behave
electron.
different. Yeah,
It was
it's-
the electron, not the photon.
Right.
Nobody understands why. They put a camera on the thing, and all of a sudden the electron knew that it was being watched and decided to change the way it was
Or
behaving.
it could be that the energy of the camera attached to it had a
Repelled it
reaction.
or
We're
something,
talking
yeah.
about microscopes
Two
and things,
different reactions coming together. creating a
millions and
different
millions of
effect.
dollars worth of equipment, and nobody knows why.
Yeah.
Explain to me how an electron or a photon, I'm pretty sure it's the electron, no, I'm not, I haven't
Doesn't
seen
really
it.
matter. That's something really.
Explain to me how a piece of matter knows that it's being watched and alters its behavior.
Well,
Is there
perhaps-
something going on that we don't know about?
Well, perhaps all these CCTV that's around now, perhaps
Well-
we are being watched by.
Here you go.
knows?
You know the
Really
camera's
hates it
there.
because of it.
It's behaving like
What
a
have you got
human
in
being.
your pocket?
No, that's just it. It's behaving like intelligence. It's behaving intelligent.
Anyway,
That's what's scary.
No, but hold on, it's supposed to be for security, these CCTV. They say.
Well, when you know the camera's there, hopefully you're behaving intelligently.
He was saying it.
anyway, I like very much the idea